practices and all your drills centered around ensuring that you're working on flagpoles, ensuring that, even the same drills we're doing for the 8th grade group that I have this season are almost the same drills that we've been doing since 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. We just kind of take it up a notch because they're a little bit more competitive, which we kind of like drive a lot of our practice and drills into all competitions. So we're always trying to say, hey guys, even if it's maybe two lines of pulling flags, they're actually trying to compete to make sure, hey, if somebody's they're all lined up and they're all pulling flags, so you're actually counting how many flags they pull, and it's all competition based, But I would always just make sure all your drills are always based around pulling flags and catching the ball. Obviously kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, it's a little difficult to kind of catch the ball, so you probably more of your plays are going to be run based, which it's okay, because you're not going to have a whole lot of like deep passes or anything like that when you're kindergarten or 1st, 2nd. But those same concepts of just getting everybody out there comfortable with catching the ball, lining up, and all that stuff kind of helps out. So, coaches play? Okay. So that's kind of like just a quick intro about myself, intro about showing up on day one, really making sure that you have some ideas on drills for pulling flags, some of your playbooks. Does everybody have like a thing that they can design some of their plays with? And I know it progresses as you kind of, so the one thing that I've been using ever since I started the league, and you can probably write this down, or maybe you can go to the App Center right now, but it's a Playmaker. Before I leave, I'm going to put my email address up here, so you guys can always, you can either contact me, email, or my cell, and if you guys want to get a sample of any of the plays that I even have on my Playmaker, I'm happy to share. But basically, super easy to use. I've used it 1st, 2nd, all the way to now, and every season that I have, I actually tweak some of the plays, and some of them, like last season, we made it to the gold bracket playoffs, and we didn't do so hot in the very last game, and so we probably were going to get the championship. We had a really great regular season, but there's some plays that I'm going to tweak now in the Playmaker, because I know that I'm like, okay, those probably didn't work, or maybe somebody else in the audience kind of saw those plays, so I'm just going to kind of change it up. But it's always kind of fun to kind of get on there and very interactive. You can kind of see a quick snapshot, so you can actually have it on your phone. Usually what I'll do, some people actually take an iPad. I just keep it on my phone, reference those plays. So if I'm actually, looking at the plays, keep them super simple. Usually what I'll do is have a 1, 2, 3 running back, quarterback, and center. So those are your 6 players on the field. So it's basically everybody knows either I'm a 1, 2, 3 running back, center, or quarterback. So that's basically how every single play is designed. To kind of keep it simple. So, any questions on that?
So you said 6 players at a time?
6 players at a time, yeah. So you're always going to have 6 in the field, offense, defense. So
When you said running back, center, quarterback, those are the obvious. The other 1, 2, 3, safe to assume wide receivers on offense?
that's it, yep. So usually most of my plays, for offense, I'm always kind of saying, hey, as they go through their progressions, that maybe the 1 through 1 might be the primary, and then 2, 3, and then the progressions as they kind of go deep on the field, you kind of go back. Then obviously maybe your running back might be like the dump off play, so progressions kind of go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so when you say wide receiver 1, that's the main person in the play.
Yeah, so the quarterback's kind of looking at it and say, hey, who their primary for that one play. They might say, hey, all right, I'm looking for 1 because he's my primary, and then after that 2, 3, he's going to go through his progressions to see who's open. Yeah.
Now at this age, is it safe to assume that if you tell them, hey, run this play and he's your primary, that they're going to get fixed on that even if it's not a good play? Or how do you give them the autonomy so they can make the audibles?
So usually what I'll do is, so I'll come up with my playbook, and very beginning of the season, not only are we doing the drills, but about 15 to 20 minutes of my practice, I'll kind of like focus on some of the plays. And so I'll say, hey guys, let's work on play 1 through 10. So we'll just kind of knock out those plays, and maybe we might be doing that one play. And so they'll actually go through the progression. So they'll say, hey, number 1's primary, and then they'll actually practice that before we actually get out there to the game. So they'll actually know that, okay, go through 1, go through 2. So they'll get comfortable knowing that that's not the only one, to fixate. If that answers your question. So, it's not great science, but, I think that just with experience and seeing the plays and as they get older, I think it's going to be a little bit easier for them.
And you mentioned for the younger ones, there's a lot more running backs versus passes. At the 5-6 arena, I feel like going to some of the games and going to schools and watching them on recess play, that they love to go deep and far and catch the bombs and run the scores up.
They do.
Is there a strategy to rein them in, to say, hey, let's not always go for the haymaker and try to get the Hail Marys?
To be honest, I think that, if they're doing well, I mean, really the goal is to kind of make sure they are having fun. I know it's all about, winning and trying to get into the playoffs, but if they're having fun, if they're, think that they can, sometimes they'll go for those bombs and it won't be so successful, but they'll eventually get good and have more confidence as the season progresses. And I've had some seasons where I start off maybe 6 losses and we just don't click until the end of the season, and also we do great in the playoffs. And sometimes that just happens. But I think to deter, to your comments about throwing those deeps, I mean, it's, just part of the game. The kids are out there having fun, and you only get 1 hour of practice, throughout the week. But I think once I get into high school level, the reason why I say it's all about having fun is because the goal for me as a coach is always to make sure that these guys are having enough fun to where they want to play in high school. So I think in high school they get a little bit more detailed. Some of the playbooks, instead of 16 plays, they might have 30 or 40 plays. And so it's like so much complexities, but you want to kind of continue to have that slope of excitement. Yes.
Hey, just so everybody knows, we started a little bit early. I am the Director of Operations for Friday Night Lights. So anything field related, you interact with my staff. So if you need anything, my email's up there. I'd also like to tell you, the measurements for each of the fields are different. The true measurement for the fields, the biggest fields we have, are at poinsettia baseball. If you're playing at poinsettia soccer, they're about 10 to 12 yards shorter and about maybe like 3 yards skinnier. If you're at Alga Norte, the field lengths are correct. However, the inside measurements are probably about, I usually make them about 6 yards possibly. I try to keep it as big as possible, but it's anywhere from 9 to 18 feet. I'm the one that measures the fields, I'm the one that paints the fields. So I always like to tell new coaches that if you can work in a 6-yard gain, you will always make a first down. You will always get to the end zone. If you can teach your kids that, which that's the hardest thing to do, you're gonna be successful on the field. If it's kindergarten through 4th grade, I would say misdirection. Once you get into 5-6, depending on your QBs, you can really toe the line. 7, 8, most of the kids are going to throw deep balls. Just from my take over the 14 years that I've been a part of this league. So that's it.
I had one question. Does field size matter on age group as well?
Spacing matters. Field side doesn't matter.
Okay.
How big is the field?
The field normally is 150 feet by 90 feet, which is 50 yards by 30 yards. And that's on poinsettia baseball field only.
So again, just back to the playbook. So, super easy to design. You can come up with your plays. It's actually a lot of fun, kind of addicting a little bit, because you can kind of get in there and just really, come up with some good names. You can come up with, Bozo, or just any name that the kids really enjoy and kind of feed off of. And so that's kind of your first step. So it's kind of even before you show up to your first practice, I probably have a few plays already kind of in your pocket prepped. That way, as you start to introduce them, you don't have to introduce them all on the first day, because you're just not going to have the time in that 1 hour practice. And so sometimes maybe I might go through the whole season. We only have 6 practices before the season starts. So you might have to sprinkle some of these plays and say, hey, we're just going to do play 1 through 4 today. And then do some drills, maybe have some competition, do some fun interactive stuff to where the kids are excited about practice. And so you might not have to, some kids just don't want to be working on the playbook all day. They just want to get out there and compete and just have a good time. So you just got to design your practices around, drills, maybe some competition, maybe sprinkle in some plays, and so kind of just be thoughtful about that 1 hour that you kind of have. And for me, also another tip that I've kind of had that has led to some success is that before the season starts, I might do a practice maybe on a Wednesday or a Saturday, depending on the schedule and the team's baseball and all that other stuff everybody's doing. But then once the season starts, I'll typically move and shift our practice to like an hour before the game on Friday. So if the game's 6 o'clock at Poinsettia on Friday, then I'll say, hey guys, hey, let's meet at 5, knock out our practice, and then we'll go straight into the game. And sometimes that's fresh, and it's actually, from what we've seen, it's better results, from the kids who are picking up on like what you just taught them an hour ago, as opposed to if you teach them on Tuesday, they eat some Doritos, do some Fortnite or whatever, and then all of a sudden they forget everything you taught them on Tuesday to come Friday. So it's been successful. Any questions?
I can't believe, what was that app that you were?
Yeah, it's a playbook, and I'm gonna before I leave, I'm gonna put my email, my phone number. So if you guys want to get some snapshots of samples, but it's a playbook. I'm sorry, Playmaker, Flag Football Playmaker. So if you go into the App Store, you just download it. It's free, Playmaker. So
Nice.
yeah. Any other questions?
How do you typically call in plays? Do you have like a number that you will call out, or do you have a team member running each play?
Yeah, that's a
What do
good
you
good
do?
question. I want to say so for 7th and 8th, the quarterback has to come off the field. I want to say maybe it's 5th and 6th. Has anybody done 5th and 6th recently?
I think the quarterback comes and runs to the coach.
Yeah, so I think, so the 5th, 6th, and 7th, 8th are the two that you have, the quarterback has to come off the field, come over to the coach and actually get to play. So what I'll do is I'll tell the quarterback, say, hey, do play 5, maybe give him some tips of maybe what I saw, and then he'll actually communicate to the huddle. So then, everybody else, it's like the coach is actually on the field from first, from kindergarten all the way to 4th. Coach is actually there, so it's a little bit easier, and you can kind of like guide folks and kind of help them along, or help the quarterback, because he might not have that leadership or that ability to kind of really herd the cats in the huddle. But usually as they get older, 5th, 6th, it's really interesting because that's the first time they're getting that experience. So you're really kind of forcing the team to kind of listen to the quarterback and forcing the team to kind of really. So it's awesome opportunity. But by the time they're 7th, 8th, it's pretty easy. All the kids are just listening to their quarterback pretty good. So
Gotcha. So you'll have the quarterback come back to the sideline,
Yep.
the play,
yeah.
or multiple plays, or just one at a time, or
Sometimes it depends. It depends on the tempo. It depends on if we're trying to be quick, and sometimes we might need to kind of like slow the game down a little bit and say, hey, come on over here, and kind of just remind the quarterback, that hey, things are maybe there's a bad play, or just
Right.
depending on the situation. So sometimes I might say, hey, I might tell them two or three plays and say, hey, just knock out these next 2 or 3 plays, and if that's not working, I might slow it down and say, all right, come up, let's regroup.
yep.
So, but yeah, it's a great question. Yeah.
Is there any chance we're allowed to schedule a scrimmage with another team before the season?
Absolutely,
starts?
absolutely, yep. So you already got the list of all the coaches, and Coach Club put it out there, so I would highly encourage that. Now I'm in that position now where I got 10 kids on my team, so I'm kind of pretty blessed with having, I can do a 5-and-5 super easy, but it is actually good, especially if you haven't had a chance to actually practice on your plays, to actually coordinate with another team, practice your plays before you actually get out there on the first game. But I definitely encourage that. Maybe you can kind of do that maybe towards the last week or the last 2 weeks, schedule that for sure. Sweet. But I will say that, a lot of times, especially here in Carlsbad, the weather is beautiful and everybody has baseball, soccer, other events, and so it's kind of hard to kind of always get that. But if you can kind of just communicate early to your parents and say, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking for the next 3 or 4 weeks before the season starts, it's always helpful to kind of get that out there first and make sure everybody's available for it.
What defense do you run?
Great question. So, now that we're a little bit older, sometimes we'll switch. We'll do man defense, and sometimes we'll do zone. So most of the time it'll be zone, and it kind of depends on the competition and who we're playing. We might kind of switch it up. What about you, Coach? You got any tips?
I run a 3-3, usually kindergarten until about 4th grade. Then I switch it to a 4-2.
Okay.
Sometimes the rusher, if your rusher is effective, we moved the actual yard line, which makes it a little bit more difficult, so you have to really use your speedsters, but they usually come from the middle and it drops back to a 3-3. My traditional is a 3-3, because I want my middle deep safety to come down in the box and take away crossers. My two guys on the outside are my deep backs, they just bail out. We try to keep everything in front of us. That's what I've ran over the years.
Do you put anybody on the line of scrimmage?
Nope, no point.
So everybody 10 yards back?
No. Everyone's about 3 to 4 yards back. You teach them how to backpedal in your practices. You teach them how to go forwards and backwards in your practices, and especially flag pulling.
Yeah, you can get kind of creative with it. You can kind of say, hey, maybe depending, I mean, a lot of, as the season progresses and everybody, the talent's getting better, but I mean, you can always have maybe even 2 rushers if you want, or you can have no rushers, you know, totally up to you, and just depends on the situation, depends on how good or bad you're doing maybe in the game, and just, you might want to pull back the rushers completely and just, you know, it's totally up to you, but a lot of times, as they're younger, that rusher can put some stress on the quarterback. So,
Can you rush 2 people at the same time?
as long as they're lined up with the ref.
Did you say move that line back? Good question.
Yes. So it used to be 7
But you do, by doing that with 2 rushers, by doing that, now all of a sudden you have somebody else probably not covered. Yeah, so it's kind of like a,
Is it not 7 yards?
No, it's 10 yards.
so it is something to think about, but you can always kind of change it up. And sometimes, you know, so I've got a guy that, you know, a dad that's been with me for 7 or 8 years, and sometimes he'll just do the defense and I'll do the offense, and sometimes he might just kind of, throughout the whole game, kind of keep the same sequence, and then all of a sudden towards the end, we might change it up a little bit just to kind of spice it. So it's, you know, a lot of times it's, you know, especially as the teams are bigger, if you have 10 kids, now you got 4 kids on the sidelines, and so, you know, sometimes managing everybody in there and making sure maybe if you're changing it up, but then also you're changing up personnel too, so sometimes you have to kind of weigh that, whereas sometimes it might be easier to kind of just keep it consistent a little bit, and then maybe, you know, here and there, spice it.
I don't know, you can rush 2.
Yeah, it's not preferred, but you can, you know,
Just as long as they're 10 yards back.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've done 10. Especially
Yeah.
QB.
So obviously, I know you can't press, obviously, because there's no physical contact, but can you, is 3 to 4 yards the closest that you can line up, like to the receiver on defense?
Hey, Coach, do you know
You
that?
can- so long as your defense is not across the line, they can stand right in front of you.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing, because once you cross the line, then that's a flag, because it's an illegal rush. Cool.
Yeah, good
Just
question.
make sure your kids understand they cannot touch the other child. And especially if you have football players, I had a lot of, because I coached Pop Warner, so I had a lot of football players continually come on my teams. And in contact, you can do that. Flag, you gotta take that away. So just make sure that your kids understand that, but I've had certain instances in my kindergarten league, when I ran it, I had everybody dang on the line and just in front of the kid that was there, right? Like follow that person, you know what I mean? Because in kindergarten, you're really just corralling the children in a sense, because they're just going to be around you all the time, because they don't know what's really going on. But if you can simulate something during practice to kind of like, hey, you're supposed to go here, you know, those are the things you really want to focus on.
Yeah, good question.
Show me your favorite play, coach. Come on. Write something on that board, let me see it. I want to see it.
So probably our one of our favorite plays, and it's kind of like you can run it 3 different ways. Yeah, I mean, I could draw it up. So the reason why I had the app is because I'm not the best drawer, so you'll see.
Trust me, I came from the world of all drawing. I had to make all of this stuff without that little playmaker. I used to have to cut it out, draw it up, color them, all that.
So, let's see here. So I got this play, and it's basically this, so that's R. Let me see. So you got your center, quarterback, and this might be a little complicated for some, but I think that maybe third, fourth, it probably was, yeah, I got 2, and I got 3. So basically, the way the play goes is, so obviously, I get that, again, to keep it simple, I love to keep it simple principles because, especially since you only have the 1 hour and, some of these kids are just, the focus is helpful if you can keep it simple. But this play here, we call it Firecracker, and so essentially, you can either run Firecracker 1, Firecracker 2, or Firecracker 3. And so basically, Firecracker 1 will be, and basically everybody's doing the same motion for 1, 2, and 3. And so on the very first one, it'll be under center. So the quarterback will actually be under center getting the ball. As soon as he hikes it, he's going to turn this way. He's going to turn towards the running back. Running back is running straight. And so he's going to turn, give the ball to the running back. And running back's going straight. The quarterback still for Firecracker 1, 2, and 3, so he's going to do the same motion. So he's actually going to, after he hands it off, he's going to basically act like he still has the ball, and then he's going to run. 2 is coming this way, and they're going to act like they're doing a handoff, and then he's going to finish up the play after he does the handoff to 2. Then he's going to have the ball, and he's going to act like he's going to throw it, but he's going to fake it to 3. So then Firecracker 2 is a fake to 1, and then he hands off to 2, and then 2 runs up this way, and then Firecracker 3 is going to be quarterback turns, fake, and now he actually throws the ball, and so 3 catches it over here. If that makes sense.
The only reason why I asked him that, do that is because he ran that on me.
It is actually just a fun play. And, the kids have actually come up with here recently. We're like, hey, let's do Firecracker 4, and kind of like continue to build on it. But this is something we kind of started doing like 3, 4, and all of a sudden it just kind of became part of our playbook for all of them. And so we're always kind of doing it. And it's a fun one to do, but you have to practice it, especially I mean, I don't know how many times even the older kids kind of goofed it up. As much as we've kind of been doing it for many years, but I mean, sometimes it still happens. But the key is really making sure, everything's fluid, just like a symphony, just with all these plays. But does that make sense? Pretty easy.
All right, I'll show you mine.
Yeah.
I did have a question about division of labor between the kids. Do you have to rotate quarterback between all the kids and running back between all the kids, or do they just all have to touch the ball every?
Well, for me, that's a great question. I think sometimes you have to kind of see. What I've found is that you want to kind of just see your talent base.
Yeah.
Sometimes, out of my 10 kids now that I'm 7, 8, out of my 10 kids, I might have 4 kids that are probably decent as quarterback, and then the rest of them kind of like, hey, coach, put me in. And maybe if we're like winning by a bunch, I'm going to put them in, but sometimes their talent is much better at another position. And so, but usually I'll try to also, during the regular season, even at this level here, I'm still trying to keep it fun and make sure they're enjoying coming to the practice, enjoying, coming to the games. And so even though some of the dads might look at me and say, I don't know why you're putting that kid in, but I know that I'm trying to spread out the wealth and, keep it fun for everybody. Even my small guy that's probably, he might or might not want to play in high school, but I want to keep it fun for him. There's actually been plays where I shocked everybody because I put him in for like an extra point. He threw it in, it was like a fake play, and it was the Philly special. So that's my other, after you show this one, I'm going to show my Philly special.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, I put him in for a play, and it was probably the highlight of his whole season.
Yeah.
And so, it was like, that's why you coach, and that's why you just live for those opportunities. And so, but I say that because, obviously, for my son, he's like quarterback, and sometimes I'll put him in, and sometimes I'll pull him out and put some other guys. And so,
Yeah.
but again, you only have 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, so. Go ahead.
I'm a little bit different. My first practice is kind of figuring out who can throw the ball, who can't throw the ball. Then I usually go with a 2 quarterback situation. And I give them each reps throughout the entire game. Because you want them to me, regular season doesn't count. It never does. Because the kids always remember playoffs. Yes, they want the first place trophy, but I always have told my kids, season doesn't count. When we get to playoffs, we need to make sure We know our offense, we know our defense. So I ran 2 plays consistently for the entire time that I ever did F&L. Yes, I had other plays just to throw them in there, but I wanted the kids to know these 2 plays consistently. So I had one play called Grand, which a lot of people have taken from this and they put their own twist on it, which is totally cool with me because I see it all the time, but it's a bunch play. Now, technically, you can't do bunch anymore because of league rules. So I have, and I always use a block for my center. Everybody's got to be an arm length away. My QB is underneath center. Now, I've coached football a lot of years, so this is always my Liz. This is always my rip. They know left side, right side. Usually X or Y.
Again, he's keeping it simple, right?
Liz, you're on the left side.
Yep.
X, you're on the left side. Y, you're on this side.
Yep.
Rib, you're on this side. So, this is the most important person in this play. This person, it's not a step forward, because most kids want to step forward. It is a side step, okay? Now, if you can imagine the first down marker, you're 5 yards away because there is a no run zone, right? And this is what I actually did this play the entire game because kids were frustrating me because they weren't listening. They got really annoyed that game, but we still won. So the QB is rolling out to your right. So make sure you have a right-handed QB. If you have a left-handed QB, you can run it the other way. But then this becomes your most important person. This person is a sidestep and all the way past the 5-yard line. This is the main route, is what I call it. I even taught the kids to run main route even when we were in our spread offense. This is a curl. This is a curl. This is a curl. This here is 7 yards. You got to teach them 7 yards back pylon. I call this my bailout. So if my QB rolls out and he cannot get it to this person here, which the pylon and that person should be close to each other because it's to get either a first down or a touchdown within the no run zone. Okay. If this is all taken away, back corner. If I feel like the middle's weak, I have him hit center. Now, please understand I am very vocal on the field, so I am talking to my QB the entire time. Some people let their QB do whatever they want, and that's great. But in certain situations, there's a time where you have to will your QB to do what you want in the play.
You're like yelling to him during the play?
Not yelling at him,
But,
but
yeah.
I'm letting him know, Roger, run now, like those kind of things. Because kids, when in the game, hands are off, right? Like gloves are off. You don't know what's going to happen because they do these kind of things, right? They follow motion, they look left, they look right, and sometimes they need you as a coach to help them, tell them where to be. And sometimes they don't even listen to you. You got to deal with that too. So I suggest you keep your playbook simple, figure out your best 2 plays, and do those in practices until it comes time for your first game. Just so they understand something, and then you can expand. Just like his Philly special, he has this firecracker thing and his Philly special. I guarantee you, if you told his kids, line up and do Philly special, they're gonna line up and do it. Even my kindergarten team, when I had them, they still knew to do this because it's repetitions. It helps. So that's my play for ever.
Would you touch on the no run zone and educate them on what that means?
All right, so imagine me and coach here about 5 yards away. There's these cones that you'll see right before the pylon where coach is standing there. So if that is the goal line, you're gonna see a cone about 5 yards. Now, typically, that's on soccer field, you'll see cones. On baseball and Olga, it's gonna be a,
Your linebacker is smart, and he knows it. He's seen it one time. He's gonna get in there and get the pit, so he's gonna be ready for that.
So there's no run zones, only,
so the no-run zone is before the goal line, and then once you get to half line, where you get your first down, they're gonna be on both sides. So if you're going this way, you're gonna run into one. They're about 15 yards apart from where you start to where the no-run zone is. That's
for all age
baseball.
groups?
Huh?
Even the youngers?
Yeah, for all age groups. For baseball and Olga is 15 feet. Soccer field, I think, is about 12 feet, roughly, give or take. Like I said, soccer field is a little bit skinnier.
Wait, before you erase that, I have a quick question. So I just had my practice, and it was
Okay.
first and second graders.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, So, such good energy. But I was like, okay, next practice I'm gonna have to run some plays, So you're telling me that you got kindergartners to memorize this?
Yeah.
Really?
Because you got to think about it. Everybody's standing next to each other. Remember, we've been doing this for so long
Yeah.
that now it is this. And this is what we did. We just lined up. I kept lining up everybody in the right spot.
Right.
It didn't even matter the route. I just wanted them to remember the formation. And then I take my smartest kid. Hey, can you do this for me? And then I take my other kid.
Right.
Like you gotta know the level of your kids.
Yeah.
You gotta know which ones that are gonna actually like, okay, coach, you want me to do that and that? And then the other ones that are like,
Yeah, so for the first second, you might only have maybe four plays, maybe throughout the whole season, and that's okay. But as long as they kind of get the concepts early, at this stage, then it's gonna progress. And you can kind of build on that, and like when I first started, I probably only had a few plays, and all of a sudden my playbook's like 16 plays,
Right.
It's like, but I'm kind of debating now where I want to kind of even take down from 16 to 12 or something like that, so.
That makes sense. And so,
Yeah.
would you have those kids switch where they're lined up, or would you always?
Oh,
have
yeah.
some kids that- Okay.
so what I would do is I'd line everybody up
Yeah.
and everybody goes through each position.
Oh, it's just like
Because
fair
you
stuff,
don't
right?
know
Yeah.
who you're gonna, because you have to do a rotation.
Right.
So if you have 9, that's 3 kids out, 3 kids in. If you have 10,
Yeah. I'm not.
that's like just a whole cluster
Right.
of
That
like.
makes sense.
So
And then
it
you got
will take a little bit
defense
extra work, and I've been doing this since first grade, and now I'm at eighth grade level, and usually on Fridays, I'll kind of shut down for my work, and I'll focus just on F&L. What I'll do is I'll actually take, just like Coach Pub has a little play sheet, you put all the names in there, because that's gonna be the one you give to the opposing team, and, you're supposed to do that part of the rule book. So if you haven't seen that, you just go into the website, download it, it'll just be a little
Yeah.
scorecard, you just fill out your names. So I'll do that first on Fridays, get that ready to hand to the opposing, and then after that, then I'll take my little 12 or 16 plays off the playmaker, and so what I'll do is I'll run through every single quarter and say, hey, in this first quarter, I'm gonna have these 6 kids play, and I'll think through which are the most successful plays that I'm going to actually do and execute on that first quarter, and say, okay, now second quarter, now I got a new group because I got 10 kids, so I have to really put thought on how I'm going to actually, you just can't show up and say, all right, I'm going to do play 4, and you have no idea who's going to be on the field. So actually doing the play design for about an hour or two before I actually show up, sometimes it's helpful for me.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because it's super good practice. Like kids were having a great time. They're like, Coach Bob, you're awesome, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I think this is going to continue, but there's going to be some ego that takes over, And some kids are, some kids are locked in, and others are literally they're thinking about something else.
Oh, no, I trust.
Yeah, and I think all your practices are going to be designed around that too. So you might, change your practices depending on the level and depending on, who actually needs the work to kind of, to get up to the level of everybody else as well.
Okay.
And the one thing that did help me, after I coached Pop Warner and I had one of my buddy Derek, he coaches at Carlsbad High School. The first time I came into coaching tackle football, I was like, great, all right, I got all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out like I wanted it to.
Right.
And he took me aside and he's like, hey, you know what you should do? You should break it down by minutes. if you have a plan for the entire hour you have them for, you'll be more successful. So like, I did 15 minutes of cone work, agility, and I did 15 minutes of flag pulling, and then I did 15 minutes of defense, right? And then I did 15 minutes offense. So I get my entire group into what we're gonna do during the game. And then say, I'm going against this guy. Okay, well now I gotta work 30 minutes on defense and 20 minutes on offense. Okay, my cones go down to 10 minutes, flag pulling, goes down to 8 minutes. Like, just make sure you have a dialed in plan, because it's harder when you go out there without a plan. Because you want the kids to be successful in a game, but once you get them together, it's like all bets are off. My kindergarten team would literally be huddled around me the entire time. I had one kid thought he was a robot. Okay, so it's like and I even told him one game, I was like, all right, you're a robot. Everybody over there's a robot. Go and pull all the flags. And he actually went after the flags like that game. But you got to know your kids, and just so long as you come in with a time of what you're gonna do, you'll be okay. I promise. By playoffs, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I took down a number 1 team with a 28 ranked team before. And just like playoffs, you never know what's gonna happen. You just wanna make sure your kids are ready for that time.
When you say cone work, can you define what that means to you?
Everybody okay with me erasing this now?
Leave the name and number.
Oh, well, that's him. I'm just talking about what I wrote down here. So a couple of things I did during my practices, I did cone work where, depending on my kids, sprint to this cone, back pedal, sprint, back pedal, sprint. Change the direction. You're going forward, you're going backwards. And this works because your DBs, what do they got to do? They got to go backwards. What do your linebackers got to do? They got to go forwards. But you don't know what kids are going to go in what positions, so you have to train them all the same way, right? I did a box one and I would change it all the time. It'd be side shuffle, back pedal, side shuffle, sprint, right? Or it'd be bear crawl. I did this. I did bear crawl, sprint, bear crawl, sprint. But I did that for my 7th and 8th grade team because they were acting out.
Yeah.
Just saying. Once you get them on the ground, they do something uncomfortable, like, that's it. I know you got some.
Yeah, I know that sometimes we'd actually kind of go, to kind of further what Coach is saying here. So like we got this one where we'd, you got your cones, and basically you can kind of, if you can imagine, somebody's here and then they backpedal, and then they come here, backpedal, come here, and then as they come up, then you're going to actually have a wide receiver. So you're going to have a wide receiver here. So this guy right here, as soon as that drill finishes, then the wide receiver is taken off. Now he's backpedaling, so he's going to stay with that guy, and so you actually got a quarterback that's over here. So basically, you got part of the drill that we have is that this guy's doing his backpedal as soon as he gets to the last cone, and then this guy takes off. He stays with him, so now the quarterback's practicing throwing to this guy, but then also at the same time for the drill, the guy's actually working on his backpedal and also staying, doing a 1v1 basically. And so you can kind of just change it up. The wide receiver can, do some routes. He can just do an L, or he can kind of just do a post. But bottom line is really practicing, just like Coach was saying about the backpedaling, because that's so key on all the games. Even from 1st, 2nd, all the way to 7th, 8th. So, there's another one we actually do with the flag pulling drills. There's actually the offense, defense. So, got them in a box. So you got your cones, your 4 cones. So you got offense would be here, and then defense would be here. So the offense guys, so you'll have, I got 10 kids, so I got five would be over here and 5 would be over here. So the first guy with the ball will actually come around this cone, and then he'll actually try to score while this guy is also coming around for defense. So they'll actually take off at the same time. So I'll just say, go. And then all of a sudden, offense will take off, defense will come here, and offense is, the goal is to actually get through the line there. And so that's kind of a drill that we always kind of do. It's fun. And then also another one is just getting everybody lined up. Got one guy, basically, you got cones here. You got one guy, and just a flag pulling drill. So everybody just runs through, tries to score, And so he's working on flag pulling. That's it. So just straight flag pulling drill. You can change it up as they progress. Maybe put a football in their hand if they want. But basically, the whole idea is for that one guy to pull all 9 guys in my team. So all 9 will run through, do the drill. All right, somebody else step in. So
What technique is best for them to learn with flag pulling? Like what's a model flag pull? Like if there's like a certain technique you want to see as a coach, what is it?
yeah, I mean, for me, I always try to teach them to actually go for both flags. Just actually, just get down and actually to break down. A lot of times kids kind of come in here with the one arm or somebody. But if you kind of teach them to kind of like go side to side and actually break down, for me, that's always been kind of helpful.
Do you have contact?
Yeah,
You're teaching people.
remember, it's no contact.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like you're teaching
That's
people.
why I said, so there's one drill that I did, it was a tracking drill. And so I had 2 lines, right, here and here. This would be my offensive player, and all they're doing is just jogging. Mind you, you tell a kid to jog, he's probably gonna sprint. So this is not a fast drill in a sense, but this person's jogging down the line, and this person is learning how to track them down and pull their flag. Because there's gonna be a lot of situations where your kid's gonna be on the opposite side. If they tuck the wrong angle, the kid's scoring. So I also taught them to track, right? Make sure we're going and using 2 hands. A lot of kids like to do this one-handed thing, and then they do this swiper, no swipey.
Yeah.
And like they pray that they get it.
Yep.
Right? My kids, what I taught them is if they're tracking and say, coach is running down the field, I'm coming and I'm getting right on this guy's hip and I'm pulling his flag. Right? You want to make sure that the kids understand getting as close as possible to pull a flag is going to be a lot easier. Being in your right defensive stance, like coach said, side to side like this, is going to be a lot easier. If you go in and just try and do this, you're not going to pull a flag.
So all those drills look super good. And I'm gonna try to do them. The one thing I like, again, this is for the sectors, some of them were really good, but some of them were pretty clumsy, and I'm kind of scared that, is there injuries that go on in practice and stuff? But it's like,
Yeah, there is. Let me show you this one where you can hopefully deter from that.
right, because they're like, let's run 1v1s. I was like, there's no way I'm letting you guys run 1v1s, right?
No, we're not running
Yeah, if
1v1s.
you're in the first second, probably not.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
You make sure you have enough cones to do this, by the way. And you can make this distance whatever you would like. And so, like Coach said, you want to make sure your kids learn how to break down and go forward at a player, right? So I have an offense here, I got a defense here. You can make this distance whatever you want, but both of them are sprinting at the same time. This is teaching your kids here to make a cut and get to the end zone. This is teaching your kids here to break down and go after the offensive player. If you're worried about being clumsy, because what coach showed you is a wonderful drill, but my kids never did it, to be honest with you, because they were too clumsy. I had to do it in this kind of way to kind of teach them. So you always have to adapt to whatever team you have, plain and simple. Go
There's
ahead.
one more of my favorite drills that I want to show you just real quick, but it's the sideline drill. So this is something that if I was going to go out there today, I would probably actually do the sideline drill. We'll do the sideline drill. We'll do that little box that I showed you with the flag pulling. We'll do the offense, defense. But for sure, no matter what, even before a game, we'll actually do the sideline drill. So basically, if you can imagine, we'll have some cones set up here. So that's really kind of guiding them so that they understand that's the goal. Offense will be here. So I'll have a line of kids right here at this cone, and then there'll be another cone. We'll say it's right here, and then my defense guys. So I'll have a line of kids over here. And so the goal is, as soon as this guy takes off with the ball, he's going to take off. And the defender, the point of the drill is to ensure that he doesn't get beat, or he doesn't beat the defender and get to the sideline. So the defender, we're trying to teach the defender to actually get to the sideline first. That way he pushes the offense guy in, so that way in a real game time, then everybody else is helping him out. So it's 2 or 3 kids pulling flags, as opposed to if it's only the offense guy gets to the sideline, then he beats the whole team, and basically he's going to score. So it's really teaching the defense guys to get to the sideline first before the offense guy. Does that make sense? So that's kind of like a bread and butter drill that we've always kind of worked on. We kind of just, even at the 8th grade level, still work on that.
The fun drill I did was King of the Hill. I split them up, I lined my cones up, and it was a one-on-one situation, but it taught them to break down,
Yeah.
pull flags. But the kids love it. Like every time I yelled out King of the Hill, they were like, ah! Like, they went crazy.
You got sharks.
How do you do that? Joe?
So King of the Hill, well, most of the kids know how to do it because I think it's a school game. But I think it's like called Sharks and Minnows.
Sharks and minnows, yeah.
So basically what I do is I draw a line. I have offense here, defense here. And you're just going, what I would do though, is I would put my fastest players against my fastest players. I would know which kids to put with who, right? And then sometimes I would push certain kids to go after the faster kids, right? But when I first started doing this, I put like for like. So this kid cannot go out of bounds. They need to make it here. And this is your team. This is your team. Whoever got the most touchdowns didn't have to do push-ups, didn't have to do squats, didn't have to do lunges, because I made them do all of those things. Like I didn't deter from that, but I also didn't do it with my kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. I did it with my 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, because at that age there, they start to do other things, other sports.
Yeah.
And those other sports are doing those things. Like I used to bring on my parachute and make them do parachute running. All my kids became faster. If you ever seen any of my kids, they like blow right by you. Even my daughter does it in the varsity level, but she did so much parachute work that it helps them. They don't know it. They think it's fun, but you're just helping them because coach has done it. Hey, mine is called My Little Pony. That's a deep route to whoever I call out, right? You want your fastest player. So I did, that was my fun drill that the kids loved.
Would you explain this one more time? 4 kids on each side.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many kids you have.
Okay, let's say you have 8, so you have 4
So
on each
4
side.
and 4.
You have one kid just holding the ball and taking off running and seeing if this kid can get the flag.
Yep, and then once he crosses, he throws the ball back over here.
And they do it
Next
again.
kid goes. And it's just a continually thing. You can do it with 2 balls, but it's just, well, I would stand here, sorry. I would stand here, make sure everyone was doing it correctly. They throw it to me and then I throw it to the next person. Sorry, I forgot about that. I forgot that I was actually at practice.
Yeah, that's a good point that Coach brings up too. I mean, definitely, I think the whole point of the practice session is to come up with a plan and make sure, hey, you're doing drills, you're doing maybe some agility, doing some flagpole and doing a couple play practices, and then maybe towards the end, I've always finished up maybe the last 10 minutes. All right, let's do something fun. It would be King of the Hill, or maybe Sharks and Minnows, or you can do that one, just have a box with cones and just say, hey, everybody gets in there, and whoever the last person to have a flag, basically wins. And so everybody's trying to compete there. It's kind of chaos, but it's kind of a fun thing to do towards the end because they're just wanting to kind of just let off some steam. And but I think I always try to change it up because a lot of times the kids that I've been with for so long, they're like, kind of tired of the same thing, so sometimes I'm always going on YouTube and trying to, you know, be creative to come up with a new game or something something I just saw on TikTok or something like that, and so, trying
There's
to,
definitely more.
you know, spice it up for the team, but, you know, I always kind of finish up over the last 10 minutes, so but that's why it's super important to come up with your plan, already know, because that hour is gonna fly by, and next thing you know, you'll be like, oh man, I just pointed to flag poles today, and that's it, you know, but you wanna make sure that you have a plan and kind of stay on track with it.
Anybody got any other questions? What's going on?
You need motion? You need to have.
Oh, yeah.
Motions
You can.
on
You
it?
can only have one motion, yes.
At a time or?
At a time, unless everybody is moving at the same time and then everybody stops at the same time, which is really difficult,
Yeah, okay.
to be honest. But you can have one kid run this way, once he gets set, then another kid run that way. That's fine, but you also have to understand you have I think it's 30-second play clock now.
Yeah.
And the refs the refs are gonna be more lenient at the beginning of the year than when it comes toward the end in playoffs. That's when they start really getting stricter. Some of our older refs, they are very strict regardless, because they know there's gold teams out there, there's silver teams out there. They know which ones to pay attention to.
How many plays do you guys recommend running for third and fourth graders?
I mean, I would probably maybe 6, maybe 8 tops. But I would say maybe even third, fourth, especially if it's your first time with that group, I would say maybe 3 or 4 just to kind of get really good at those. Maybe as you progress in the season, you might, because I've actually had some plays in my playbook where I might give it to the team and we, you know, we haven't even worked on it until maybe close to the playoffs. And I'm like, hey guys, hey, let's, you know, dust off the playbook. You know, let's, the last play that's on your playbook, hey, let's do that one. We haven't done it yet this season, you know. So sometimes you might just introduce a little bit and as they kind of, depending on how well they're kind of receiving it, so.
Yeah, always have your core plays. Like I said, I had 2, and then depending on grade level and team level, I would change them, the other ones. But I always had probably like 6 playbook, but I typically ran my 2 consistently, I
Yeah,
would
because if you
say.
got six or, you know, even 10 kids on the field, you only got 6 that are playing. I mean, you know, the same people or same plays you're doing on the first quarter, in the second quarter, it's going to be a different group, you know, so sometimes they also want to kind of experience that same play that you were doing with the first quarter, so. But yeah, try not to make it too complicated and the whole KISS principle. You know.
Yeah, definitely don't make it too complicated. I remember when I first started, I came with like a 30 playbook. And then I was like, after the first game, I was like, oh, got to drop that down to 15. Second game, oh, got to drop that down to like 8. Okay, hold on, wait a minute. Like what, like, am I not like teaching the kids right? Like it took me a while. I finally figured out, like I came up with my core plays and, you know, it was good. It was a good time for the kids. They loved it.
So when you showed us that one play, where you say you ran that play and another play,
Yep,
is it easy for the other team to catch on to that?
it doesn't
or no?
matter.
Very
If I run my play that the kids are supposed to run exactly, it will always be open.
Really?
Yeah. Because you got to think about it. Who's next to the person that's running out there, the center? You have a second bailout. You just have to teach your QB that. But I'll tell you right now, X is always open. I'm just telling you because like I've had defenses stack that side, but I taught my player X. If it's not in front of you, you go to the back pylon. Then it's a dump over. Like I said, there's other plays inside of the play. The formation's the same. Kids are running the same. I need to just make sure my QB understands what the defense is giving me and not force it. Right? Like that's a lot of the times too. Because I imagine he's called to play and his QB did the exact thing that he wanted to, but he actually wanted him to read something else in the play. Right? There's always a backup to everything.
And the QB cannot run even if he's rushed, right?
Correct.
Okay, but you
He's
can do
got-
halfback passes.
If you want to.
Maybe we did that last year, but that.
Well, I'm just saying, because if you have your rusher, that makes it the rusher's still there. You only get, 7 seconds? And depending on how they count.
Yeah, so if you want the quarterback to run a little bit more or have more flexibility, I mean, you can always have, that play where basically the quarterback is here and maybe, you know, we've had the running back right behind him, and then right before the play is hiked, the running back is actually coming over here to the center, and then he's gonna pitch it back to the quarterback, so now he can either run or pass.
Right.
You know, so, you know, we've done that quite a bit. And
I've done that too. I remember those days.
Yeah. What other questions?
Here, let's show them our defense.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm not in the league anymore, so it doesn't matter. I can give you everything all the information I have. Nobody has to worry about me anymore. Even though someone wants me to coach their kid, can't do it. 5, 6. And this is just me. You can do whatever you want. Please understand. Four across, safety up top. This is my 5, 6. If I was doing anything below that, it's a 3, 3. Because my 5, 6, 7, 8, those kids are faster, right? They can move quicker on the field. I had a lot of soccer players. I had a lot of football players. So, depending on what the defense is running, everyone's about 3 to 4 yards off of the line. The only person that's not being covered in this and standing in front of is the center. This person. I'm not technically worried about him, even though we cover him. Now remember, in football, you're always going to give up something. You can't cover everything. That's why he probably runs man more of the time, because kids are fast enough, they know what to do, they understand the situation. A lot of the times, you're probably not going to get that, just to be honest. So, in this play, in this defense, this person is he's actually right in front of the center, and he drops to about 3 yards to make sure if there's any running backs. That's his main priority, is running backs. Because I don't have a rush in this, but have someone consciously looking for a running back. Here, the curls, safety drops down, DBs bail out. So the only way you're gonna beat me is on the corner, or maybe a 10-yard out. I'm giving you the 5-yard out. I don't care. Because I'm expecting these kids to come down and go after that person. None of my players, all of my entire team, I made sure during even practice, if I threw it to a kid, everybody is around that kid and we're corralling them. It's conditioning. You want to make sure that they do this like subconsciously just by themselves. Because if not, they're going to be like deers in the headlight, right? They're going to be going everywhere. This one's a little bit different. These people actually pay the 5-yard out line. This person goes here, but the problem is my safety has to cover the entire field. Now, most of my safeties were fast in this sense, so they played center field, and wherever the ball went is where they went. So you can change a lot of different things in this. The person out here that's by themselves, you could actually shift, which I did one year. I had this safety shift this way, and then this person just bail out. So now I have a 2 deep safety shell. Or if this team is really killing me in here, these guys sit, look for running backs, here, safety, center field. If I was rushing in this is my rusher. But then this person is a bailout to the ref. We're giving you everything in the middle. You got to give and take. You can't cover, like I said, you can't cover everything, especially when you're in a zone. You're giving them something. And a man, if you got great kids like he does, go get it. Because you can take away everything, so long as they know how to backpedal, play defense.
Sure.
So I didn't have that luxury.
You guys all got that? So I guess for us, I guess if we're not doing man, usually, and it kind of feeds off of that drill that we do with the sideline drill. But we typically will have the, you got your rusher right here, that's hanging back with the ref. And then our linebacker is right here. So that's typically like my smartest guy. So he's basically the guy that can either, want the experience level to kind of, progressively get better. But yeah, I mean, it's manageable.
So I know that you guys want to keep away from bunching, like arms length apart, like you said, for the one play that you run. Can you stack at all? Like how?
They still have to be arms length apart due to F&L rules.
Yeah.
So if me and coach,
so
me and coach are here, one of us has to do this, right?
Yeah, so
If me and coach are here, one of us has to do this.
Okay.
yeah.
It always has to be an arm length away. That's what they changed because we used to do this.
Yeah.
I used to for real. I used to get as close as possible to your person and use them. They took the pick play away.
Could you make like an arm's length a triangle? So like you have like
Yeah.
two in front and one in the back?
Mhm.
Good.
You can if you want to, as long as they're arm length away. That's all.
I think that's a good point. I mean, be as creative and have as much fun, because the more you have fun, the kids are gonna vibe off that. So I think that, for me, they just grab that same group from first, second, all the way to seventh, eighth. For me, it's challenging because I got the same kids, so I'm always trying to just, be creative and just have it fun and energize and do something a little bit different, because, the last thing they want to do is see the same thing they've been seeing since 3, 4, or 5, 6, so always just spice it up for the kids.
Back to that question about the centering. So for the first and second graders, you're saying under center, is that the best thing to do, or?
Honestly, truthfully, yeah. So,
And so that's like actually hands under the butt and.
Exactly.
yeah, just like tackle football, same thing. I even incorporated flood. If any of you guys played tackle football out of I right formation, 5 yard out, post, and then the opposite guy runs a drag across, and then my guy on the far right. So you guys can really look into a lot of different things, but you got to just remember it's only 6 man, so there's no line, right? If you think about it that way, there's a ton of resources and plays college-wise that you can go into and look for.
So if you're in that like no run zone, like within the 5 yards of the end zone, can you have the center just like turn around and the quarterback quick pitch?
That was a play for me. Because you got to understand, so if you imagine coaches on defense, right? And his coach tells him to be 3 yards off of the line, but we only have to go 1 yard.
Yeah.
I would yell out, fire, fire, or I would teach my QB a sign, and then all they would do is tap the center's leg, and then the center takes a step and turns around.
So that is.
And I even taught my center to run backwards until that person pulls the flag. Unfortunately, one of my centers broke a kid's nose, but yeah,
But
he was a big dude.
But if you got your the high IQ guy as your linebacker, and he knows about that, and you kind of like work through that in drills and sessions, and make sure, that's why it's so important for me to have that, the smartest guy right there, so to kind of stop those types of
But
things.
that is legal though, like you.
Yeah, 100%. You can do that all the time. You can do that every single play if you want to.
As long as it's a pitch. from the high
It
point.
just has to do this.
Yep.
I promise you. That's it. You can have the worst QB around, but if he can do this real well, you're going to get yards.
Any other questions? Practice, play design, yeah, go
Just
ahead.
a quick question on the defense. It looks like you put like priority on the safety, you put priority on the linebacker. Where do you put the kid with 2 left feet?
Okay, so he would put his best player here. I would put my 2 left foot person here. Because all my other players, because remember, you're gonna always give up something, right? I'm going to hopefully not allow a score. And then I'm going to play how much I have left. Meaning, I'll let you get 20 yards down the field. That's fine with me. I just want to keep you out of the end zone.
Right.
But
This is my
depends
2
on
left kid.
If it's first, second, or seventh, eighth, depending on the level you're talking about, I mean, you know,
It could be all two left
yeah,
feet, right foot. And I have
Yeah.
my fastest kids in the back that can pull flags just to make sure I don't get scored on. And that's what I did in kindergarten. All my kids that would lose their head or look up in the sky or just stop, not move at all, would be in the front. And I would have my fastest kids would usually out here, and then this is my guy that reads
Yeah.
most things very well.
or if you have the biggest one with two left feet, you know, if you want to have him over here and then have somebody who's super, super strong right behind him, you know, just to complement, you could always kind of just do that depending on the skill level.
Sorry, I know we're getting late, but I was,
No, you're good.
question, how do you deal with like kids that, on your own team that have attitudes? Like, especially during game, if they're mouthing off to the other
Push-ups, lunges, I've done that
during
during the
game
game.
and stuff?
Oh, 100%. Drop down and give me 10.
Yeah. Pull
Kids
out.
don't like exercise,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. They don't. You make them do lunges, you make them do certain things, they'll start like breaking down and actually start listening. I've had to stop a practice and do that.
Yeah, but
The games and
But at the
stuff?
same time, you know, depending on the skill level and the attitude adjustment that has to happen, I mean, you know, there could be situations where you're like, hey, like, you know, you've only got an hour, you're out there, you know, if you're gonna spend 10, 15 minutes with this kid and, you know, all the other kids, the other 9 kids are not getting the same love and you're kind of, all your attention's there, then you probably need to bring in a parent and say, hey, can you help me out here?
Well, yeah, there's always a fine line.
Yeah.
Most of the time, after the kids usually do an exercise, they start like
Yeah,
tightening up. But if you just have a straight out kid that's just like not listening, then yeah, definitely involve a parent. Because that
Yeah.
kid could potentially get kicked out during a game and be asked to leave by one of our refs and the game won't continue. And then that's a whole nother,
yeah, I don't think I've seen, you know, in the 8 years I've been doing this, I haven't seen a kid where it got to that level, because I
Yeah.
feel like, you know, the same energy you get to practice, the kids should start to respect the team, respect the coach, respect the time. I think everybody, from what I've seen, they enjoy being out there, they want to give their best, they want to like contribute. So I think as long as you continue to just, you know, evolve and give the same love to everybody, ensure everybody's getting developed, and just, you know, how much you put into them, I think is what you're going to get in, you know, as far as attitude on the field. So I think that it should be okay. And I think you guys are all showing up here today and just want to be better as coaches. So I think that's half the battle.
I've seen that, and we have one practice where we have a few mouthy kids that are like,
I've had one.
But you got to stop it. I mean, you got to stop
Yeah,
it
yeah,
at practice
absolutely.
and say, hey, that's not acceptable. It's not allowed.
yeah.
You know?
What question did you
Yeah,
have?
so hypothetically, let's say I have a play where I got my quarterback throwing a hitch route, curl out route, whatever. When that receiver catches the ball, and I have someone else coming across, that receiver that has the ball lateral at all?
You mean the hook and ladder? Yes, you can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and as long as it goes backwards. Yeah.
As long as it's back.
Yeah, you can before, yeah. And as a matter of fact, that's a very fun play to kind of do. And you can even incorporate some
I got
games or
burnt
drills,
when I played
you know, like
something.
pre-game, you know, for that too. So. Yeah, we kind of do a fun game that we actually like to do. It's kind of like rugby type of game, but not so much the tackling, you know, like rugby, but a lot of times we'll do those. It'll just be a free play, like 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, and then they'll kind of go at it, but they don't necessarily have to do passes. They'll actually pitch and keep on pitching and try to score, and so they'll kind of do that and just compete, you know, for like 10 minutes or so. So that's always a fun one that we like to do.
I know you obviously like can't have your center block, but if you were to run like 46 power, like have your running back go to the right, could you just send your center as like a decoy, like get in the way?
No,
No.
because you can't, because so you have to make sure that your center is nowhere near the person that is coming to the flag, right? Now, people have gotten away with it, which if your center is running a route, you can technically get away with it, but the refs are actually supposed to call it.
Oh, they would.
Yeah.
So what direction do you give to this, like the players? That's, we're practicing with first and second grade girls, right? So
Yeah.
we're running just some basic plays, like run to the right, run to the left. And what I'm noticing is they're globbing up. And so like what direction would you give the receivers? Like I did two running backs, quarterback, 2 receivers, or something like that, whatever, 6, 2 running backs, but they were running into each other. So would you give the direction for the center to run opposite way as the running back?
So I ran a play called Monster where I had 2 running backs. Right running back would go left, left running back would go right, center would always do a curl, and then my outside receivers would just run posts.
So just give them like an assignment to do.
Just give them,
Absolutely.
give them an assignment.
So,
Give
so,
them
so if
what
you
they're
see the,
supposed to do.
the playmaker, you can actually, just like I was kind of doing with keeping it simple, 1, 2, 3, and just make sure, hey, so they know, like if you guys are at 1, you're at 2, you're at 3, so they know when they go out there before the play, so, 1 to 4th grade level, the coach will actually have the playbook and be able to say, hey, these are the plays to do. If you're 5 all the way to 8, you'll actually tell the quarterback, so, they'll actually have you can print those off, from the playmaker, so.
They're pretty good at blocking.
That's actually something else that we didn't even mention. Does everybody know about, I guess you can go to Amazon and probably, I don't know what you guys did for the wristbands, but
Yeah,
we kind of
Amazon.
bought our own wristbands, so it's not part of the league, but I actually kind of paid out of pocket, got my own wristbands, and that's what, we actually put those plays in the wristband.
So believe it's kindergarten through 4th grade, you guys can be on the field.
Yeah, so you don't need to do that, but 5, 6, 7, 8, it's helpful to kind of have that, to introduce that, so the kids can actually look at it, and know exactly what their assignment is.
I would say it's mandatory. The way that I went about it is, yes, we have our 2 plays, but there's other plays I want them to run, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, they needed to see it visually. Kindergarten through 4th grade, I had a little folder, and I'm standing in front of them showing it to them, right? I would say visually you need to give the kids that, because with school, with other things that are going on, they have a lot of input from other things. For them to remember something that we're spending an hour doing may not happen. That's why I always did
So
my
they can just go straight to the
repetition.
wristband and actually pull out the plays, so they can just kind of flip it open, see what the plays are, and say, okay, I'm number 1, and just play 5, I'm yellow, number 1. So they know exactly where they're going, so that's gonna mitigate, the kids all bunching up, for you. So,
Give everybody a job and then
Yep.
switch them out at each spot. So if I line up over here to the left, okay, I'm always doing this. If I'm over here playing center, I'm always doing this. If I'm on the right, I'm doing this. If I'm a running back on this side, I'm doing this. But make sure you get each kid to each spot, because in game time, you're not gonna have those same 6 kids, right? And if everybody doesn't know what they're doing, you're gonna get that instance where everyone's gonna kind of just go together. Girls love going next to each other. They really do. Even my 7th and 8th grade team, I'm like, why are you guys always next to each other? Right? It's just a thing. It's always been, it's kind of crazy.
Question for you.
Yeah.
When you start off the game, you've got 6 on the field. You've got, let's say, a team of 9. You got 3 out the side. Then, how often can you rotate them in? What are kind of the rules?
so
there?
everybody has to at least play 3 quarters, and so depending on how many you have, 10, 9, 8 kids, so if you go into the printable, lineup card that's on the website, that the Coach Cub has, FNL, Carlsbad, just Google that and go to the website. The printable lineup card will actually, you should actually do that before the game and actually be like, okay, I know that Johnny's only going to be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, he's got to sit on the 4th quarter. And so you can actually kind of go through and plug them in, so you can already in your mind know how it's going to be set up, so you don't show up and you're not really sure who's doing what, so.
So if you have 7, 1 kid sits each quarter. If you have 8, 2 kids sit.
It's all going
each
to say that,
quarter.
so you don't have to memorize it, but it's all going to say that on the lineup card. As a matter of fact, it's actually in the rule book, right?
Yeah, it's in the rule book. It's not on the card.
Okay, so it's in the rule book,
It's
yeah,
in
so
the
make sure you have the rule book
yeah.
to understand, but 7, 8, because, even though I have 10 kids, I might have 3 that are sick, and now all of a sudden I have 7, and just like Coach was saying, hey, now all of a sudden I could have 3 kids that play the entire game. The entire
Those are
game,
your
and then 4
stars.
kids are gonna rotate, so that's the rule for 7. So sometimes it's your benefit, that's why it's so important, Coach Club always says, hey, you gotta exchange the lineup cards before the game to make sure that there's no animosity where, if somebody thinks that you're putting in the star guy the whole game or this or that, sometimes it's happened, but, I think it just kind of clears any of the tension when you exchange the lineup cards and kind of transparent.
And really make sure you know your rule book, because you can run into an instance where if me and him are playing each other and say I think I have 9 and say he has 7, I actually have the ability to tell him, I want this kid to sit out for this quarter, right? Most people don't do it during the season, but when it comes playoff time, down to the nitty gritty, people will call that out. So make sure you guys are really aware of the rules when it comes time down to it, because that's gonna be the most beneficial. Because the rules are really gonna keep you safe through everything.
So
You can tell the other team to sit a kid out.
Yep.
But that's only on those nuances. That's why you have to look at the rule book on those cases.
Because you gotta know
where-
your numbers.
Yeah, so is it 9 and 7?
Yeah, it is, because they have because
Yeah.
3 of their kids.
That's right.
You can't have Johnny do good in the entire game if I know Johnny from my kids.
But also the same thing as you're a new coach and you've never coached before, you show up and somebody has 7, you're probably not gonna know who the best person on that team is unless you've been scouting them out, but you probably haven't because you've been focused on your team before the practice or before the game, so.
A lot of these kids know each other too, though.
Yeah. So, and does it happen? Sometimes it does, sometimes, people are like, hey, let's just play,
What if you have less than 6 kids?
Less than
That's
6?
awesome. I love that. Give me 5. I've won games with 5 kids, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can still play.
You can still play, so long as it's
Still
5.
play.
If you get down to 4, unfortunately, they're not gonna allow that, even though I've tried.
You can throw 5 out there the whole game, no
Yeah.
penalty.
Yep, no penalty.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun when you have either 5 or 6, but I mean, obviously you want to have 6, but if you have just that amount, then nobody rotates, and it's kind of easier for the coaches too, but,
What about the other team though?
Doesn't matter what the
Do
other.
they have to
team
go to
does.
6?
Nope.
Nah.
Well, they can, yeah.
Do they
So,
have to
they,
go to
so if you have 5, they can always play 6. No, they don't have to play down to
Really?
you, yeah. It's awesome, don't worry.
No, I was in a team in a different league, and we struggled with numbers in a different league, and it just demoralized our team. They didn't want to play.
yeah,
did you say each kid has to play a minimum of 3 quarters? Is that what I heard?
correct, yeah.
Well, that's just how it's lined out in the rotation.
Yeah, so if you look at the lineup card for even like 10, it's a little bit more complicated, so they might play maybe 2.5 quarters, because there's so many kids, and so you have to kind of rotate everybody, but basically.
Don't you rotate, what, is it every quarter or is it offense, defense?
Yeah,
right,
so it's
for
all,
you?
yeah, it's super complicated for 10, so you gotta do all.